Good afternoon, classmates, and good afternoon, Doc. I am Ramonita Pugoy, the third presenter for the MBA 203 Legal Aspect. Our topic for today is Lesson 9 Taxation Principles for Business. This lesson has its learning objectives. First, understand the key types of business taxes in the Philippines. Second, identify value added tax or VAT and local business taxes and their application. Third, comprehend the Bureau of Internal Revenue or BIR registration and compliance requirements for businesses. And the last one, apply basic tax compliance principles in real world business scenarios, the national and international. For the continuation of our report, let's dive into the specific of value added tax or VAT, starting with the standard 12% rate applied to the gross selling price or gross receipts. There are two crucial components to consider: the output VAT, which is the tax collected on sales, and input VAT, the tax paid on purchases. These two will determine your VAT payable, calculated as output VAT minus input VAT. Now, when it comes to VAT coverage, it extends over various transactions, including the sales of goods and services, importation of goods, leasings of properties, supply of electricity and water, and construction services. Essentially, any business with annual gross sales or receipts exceeding 3 million pesos falls under this category. This understanding lays the foundation for our next discussion on VAT computation, where we'll explore how these components work in practice. Let's dive into an example of how VAT is computed, which will help clarify the process. So we have a business selling a product for 1,000 plus 120 baht, making the total of 1,120 pesos. Now, this business has also paid 40 pesos baht on the raw materials used. So the baht payable is calculated by subtracting the input baht, which is 40 pesos, from the output baht, which is 120 pesos. So 120 minus 40 pesos equals to 80 pesos. This means the business pays 80 pesos in VAT to the government. Understanding this computation helps businesses manage their finances more effectively. Here is a table summarizing the key value added tax or VAT related forms issued by the Bureau of Internal Revenue or BIR, considering the deadlines for filing monthly and quarterly value added tax. For monthly value added tax or 2550M, the deadline is on or before 20th day of the following month. And for the quarterly value added tax or 2550Q, the deadline is on or before the 25th day of the month following the quarter. So let's focus on the percentage tax, which is applicable to businesses not registered for VAT but with annual gross sales below 3 million. This tax is calculated at 3% of gross sales or receipts and is remitted quarterly. For example, if your business earns 2 million pesos in gross sales, you would pay 3% of that amount, which works out to 60,000 pesos. Remember, this is distinct from VAT and applies only to certain businesses. As we move forward, we'll discuss the deadlines for submitting filing these taxes. This is crucial for businesses to stay compliant and avoid penalties. So the first quarter filing is due on or before April 25 on the current year. This gives businesses time to compile their financial data from the start of the year. Next, the second quarter deadline falls on or before July 25. It's important to stay on schedules as we move into the middle of the year. For the third quarter, you'll need to file on or before October 25. This ensures you're up to date as the year progresses. Finally, the fourth quarter must be filed on or before January 25 of the next year. This deadline is crucial because it also sets the tone for the new fiscal year. Remember, these deadlines are not just dates on a calendar. They represent important touch points for your business financial health. Now, let's proceed into excise taxes, a crucial aspect of taxation that affects specific goods and products such as petroleum, tobacco, and alcoholic beverages. These taxes are typically imposed to generate revenue and influence consumer behavior by increasing the cost of these goods. Excise tax can significantly impact pricing and consumption patterns. For example, excise taxes on tobacco and alcohol are often intended to discourage excessive consumption due to health concerns. It's important to understand how excise taxes fit within the broader tax landscape, as they directly affect industries producing or distributing these goods. As you can see in the table, the specific goods and products like lubricating oils and greases, processed gas, waxes, and petrolatum and denatured alcohol have a seemingly flat rate of 10 pesos excise tax per unit, either liter or kilogram, should be collected by the BIR. And the excise tax for automobiles is not a flat rate, but is based on a bracketed computation, meaning the tax rate increases based on the net manufacturer's price or importer's selling price. So the figure shows 4%, 10%, 20%, and 50% are likely the tax rates applied to different price tiers of the vehicle. These structures ensures that more expensive vehicles are subject to a higher percentage of excise tax. Next, we will explore local business taxes and how they apply to annual business operation. These taxes are pivotal for businesses and vary across local government units or LGUs. Firstly, the application of this tax is annual, calculated on the business gross sales or receipts from the previous year. Note that the rate isn't uniform. It differs depending on your LGU and industry type. Generally, it sets at a fraction of 1% of gross receipts, but it doesn't usually exceed 3%. This variance underscores the importance of knowing your local regulation. Compliance is crucial. This tax must be paid to renew your mayor's permit annually, due by January 20th. You also have the option to pay quarterly, within the first 20 days of each quarter. Remember, staying compliant not only keeps your business running smoothly, but also supports local community services. Let's dive into the concept of capital gains tax through a practical scenario. Imagine uh, Maria sells her residential lot in Quezon City for 3 million pesos. Since real properties classified as capital asset are subject to 6% capital gains tax based on, on the higher of the selling price or zonal or fair market value. She must pay CGT to the BayR before transferring the land title using the BayR Form 1706 and paid within 30 days. Imagine Maria, who sells her residential lot in Quezon City for 3 million pesos. Now, Here's where the capital gain tax or CGT comes in. When real properties classified as capital assets are sold, a 6% tax is applied. This tax is calculated based on the higher value between the selling price or the zonal or fair market value. In Maria's case, with a selling price of 3 million pesos, she needs to pay a capital gain tax of 180,000 pesos. It's crucial for Maria to pay this amount to the Bureau of Internal Revenue or BIR before she can transfer the land title. She would use the BIR Form 1706 for this, and the payment must be made within 30 days of the sale. This scenario highlights the importance of understanding how taxes like capital gain tax affect property transactions. Let's talk about donor's tax, which applies when someone gives a gift or donation. It's a tax that helps ensure gifts are properly accounted for. Here's a practical example. Juan gives his daughter Anna 1 million pesos in cash as a graduation gift. Since donation or gifts are subject to 6% donor's tax, after a 250,000 annual exemption, one must file a donor tax return, which is the BAR Form 1800, and pay the corresponding tax. So, since one gives his daughter Anna a 1 million pesos cash gift for her graduation, it's a generous gesture, but it requires some financial responsibilities. So, donor tax is set at 6% of the gift's value. After an annual exemption of 250,000 pesos, so for one's gift, he must file a donor tax return using BAR Forms 1800. After deducting the exemption, the taxable amount is 750,000 pesos, which result in a tax of 45,000 pesos. This is a crucial step for Juan to ensure compliance. Remember, understanding this tax obligation helps in managing personal finances effectively and contributes to legal compliance. Let's proceed into the documentary stamp or the DST in the Philippines. When purchasing real property, the buyer is responsible for paying the DST, which is calculated at 4 pesos for every 200 pesos of the property's value. So, for a property worth 1 million pesos, the DST amounts to 20,000 pesos. It's essential for the purchaser to use the BAR Form 2000 to pay this tax. Remember, this payment must be made within 5 days from the end of the month when the relevant document was created or transferred. This timeline is crucial, so it's always good to mark it on your calendar. Understanding these details ensures a smooth transaction process when buying real property. Today, we're diving into the state tax as essential consideration when transferring a loved one's asset. Sadly, a year later, Mr. Santos passed away. His estate consisted of the family house worth 4 million pesos, a car worth 800,000 pesos, savings in the bank amounting to 500,000 pesos. Before the heirs could transfer the title of the house and withdraw the bank money, they needed to settle the 6% estate tax with the BAR Form 1801 within a year. Firstly, let's reflect on the scenario of Mr. Santos. He left behind a family house valued at 4 million pesos, a car worth 800,000 pesos, and a bank savings amounting to 500,000 pesos. This totals as a gross estate of 5,300,000 pesos. Now, why is the estate tax important? Before the heirs can legally take possession of these assets, they must settle the estate tax. It's set at 6% of the total estate value. In Mr. Santos' case, the tax due is 318,000 pesos. Remember, it's crucial to file this with BAR Form 1801 within a year to avoid complications. So this ensures a smooth transition of asset to the heirs, honoring the legacy of a loved one. Now let's proceed into the concept of expanded withholding tax, commonly known as EWT, through the lens of rental payments. When ABC Corp pays a monthly rental of 20,000 pesos, they must consider two key tax categories: those who are VAT registered and those who are not. For VAT registered entities, this 20,000 pesos is inclusive of VAT. We calculate the net of VAT amount by dividing the rental by 1.12, which results in 17,857.14. The input tax, which is 12% of the net amount, ends up being 2,142.86. Consequently, the EWT due at a rate of 5% is 892.86 pesos, which is remitted to the BIR. For those not registered for VAT, the entire rental amount of 20,000 pesos is considered for the EWT calculation, resulting in an EWT due of 1,000 pesos at the 5% rate. So this distinction is crucial for accurate tax compliance. This concept helps ensure compliance and can significantly impact a company's financial and tax planning strategies. So let's continue our discussion on expanded withholding tax with two specific scenarios. First, let's look at the purchase of goods scenario. ABC Corp purchases office supplies worth 112,000 pesos, VAT inclusive. To determine the expanded withholding tax due, you calculate the net of VAT, which is 100,000 pesos. From this, the input tax is 12,000 pesos. So the EWT calculated at 1% of the net amount result in 1,000 pesos. Now, moving on to services. In this scenario, services amounting to 112,000 pesos are also VAT inclusive. So the net of VAT is once again 100,000 pesos with an input tax of 12,000 pesos. However, the EWT here is calculated at 2%, resulting in a due amount of 2,000 pesos. It is important to note the difference in the EWT or inca- expanded withholding tax percentage between goods and services, as this can significantly impact the financial obligation of a company. Let's continue our discussion on expanded withholding tax with two specific scenarios. First, let's look at the professional scenario for 5% expanded withholding tax rate. ABC Corporation paid in cash worth 10,000 pesos as retainer fee of their external auditor. To determine the expanded withholding tax due, you'll calculate the expanded withholding rate, which is 5%. From this, the withholding tax due is 500 pesos. Now moving on to professional for 10% withholding tax rate. In this scenario, we calculate the net of VAT amount by dividing the rental by 1.12, which result in 8,928.57. The input tax, which is 12% of the net amount, ends up being 1,071.43. Consequently, the EWT due at a rate of 5% is 892.86, which is remitted to the BAR. Let's talk about withholding tax on compensation using XYZ Corporation and Juan's as our example. XYZ Corporation employs Juan as an accountant with a monthly salary of 30,000 pesos. As his employer, XYZ Corporation is required to compute and withhold Juan's withholding tax on compensation based on the BAR tax table. For example, if one's tax due for the month is 3,000 pesos, the company withholds that amount and remits it to the BAR. So Juan receives the net salary of 20,000 pesos after tax deduction. So Juan is employed as an accountant with a monthly salary of 30,000 pesos. Now, XYZ Corporation, as Juan's employer, has a responsibility. They need to compute his withholding tax based on the BIR's tax table. Here's how it works. If Juan's monthly tax due is 3,000 pesos, XYZ Corporation will withhold this amount and remit it to the BIR. After this deduction, Juan's receive a net salary of 27,000 pesos. This process ensures compliance with tax regulation and highlights the role of employers in managing tax obligation for their employees. Now, we're moving on the details of the manual filing and deadlines for withholding tax. So the BAR form for withholding tax are 0619E, 0619F, 1601C, and 1601AQ. Let's talk about the submission timelines. For manual submissions, the deadline is the 10th day of the following month. This applies from January to November. However, December is an exemption. So the deadline is extended to on or before January 15th of the following year. This means that if you're submitting the December forms, you have a little more time. It's crucial to keep these dates in mind to ensure compliance and avoid penalties. Always double check the specific BAR forms required for withholding tax as an outline in the table, which we'll cover next. We're diving into the essential of the BAR form for withholding tax. This table is a key tool for correctly calculating and reporting taxes. Under this table, the BAR form are 1601FQ, 1604E, and 1604CF. First, let's remember the importance of accuracy. Using the BAR form ensures compliance with the Bureau of Internal Revenue, preventing any discrepancies in tax computation. Second, this form guides you on the specific amount to withhold based on different income labels and scenarios. It's beneficial not just for accountants, but also for anyone managing payroll or financial reporting. Finally, the form is updated periodically to reflect any changes in tax law or rates. So it's crucial to always use the most current version. These forms are more than just paperwork. They're tools more for maintaining transparency and accountability in financial transactions. Now let's dive into the concept of final withholding tax through a practical scenario involving a family's foreign relative. The family also had foreign relatives who invested in Philippines companies. One relative who was a non-resident received 100,000 in dividends. The corporation withheld 25% final withholding tax, which is 25,000 pesos, and remitted it to the BIR. So the foreign relative received the net of 75,000 pesos. So this relative, who is a non-resident, invested in a Philippine company and received 100,000 in dividends. Now, here's the key point. The corporation withheld 25% as a final withholding tax, which amount to 25,000 pesos. This tax was then remitted to the Bureau of Internal Revenue or BIR. As a result, the relative received a net amount of 75,000 pesos. This scenario highlights how withholding tax serves to ensure that taxes are collected at the point of income distribution, simplifying tax compliance for non-resident. This is a crucial aspect of tax compliance, especially for international transactions. Let's move into a practical scenario involving the ABC Construction Company and the Department of Education or DepEd. ABC Construction Company complete a school building project for the Department of Education or DepEd worth 10 million pesos. Before releasing the payment, DepEd is required to withhold 5% creditable withholding tax or 500,000 pesos and remit it to the BIR. So ABC Construction will only receive 9,500,000 but can use the 500,000 as a tax credit when it files its income tax return. Imagine ABC Construction has just completed a significant project, a school building valued at 10 million pesos. Now, here's the key point. Before DepEd releases payments, they must withhold 5% as a creditable withholding tax, which amounts to 500,000 pesos. This means ABC Construction will receive 9,500,000 pesos upfront. However, the withheld amount isn't lost. It's a tax credit that ABC Construction can apply when filing their income tax return. This process is a part of the withholding tax on government's money payments, ensuring proper tax compliance. By understanding this mechanism, businesses can better manage their finances and tax obligation. Now let's talk about some key compliance requirements that companies needs to be aware of. First, there's BR Form 2316. This is the annual tax return for employees. It's crucial for employees to issue this to their employees as it serves as proof of income and taxes withheld. This is not just a formality. It's a legal requirement that helps ensure transparency and compliance. Next, we have quarterly Alpha List of Pays or QAP. Filing this is essential as it provides the Bureau of Internal Revenue with a detailed list of all pays and the taxes withheld from them during the quarter. It's a way to keep everything above board and maintains accurate records. Lastly, there's the summary list of sales and purchases known as SLSP. Submitting this summary is vital for businesses since it outlines all sales and purchases made, ensuring that VAT is correctly accounted for. It's likely keeping a financial diary that helps both your business and the buyer stay on the same page. Remember, these compliance steps are not just regulatory. They're practical tools to help your business thrive in a transparent and efficient manner. And that's all for my presentation, and thank you for listening. And we're referencing several crucial documents that guide tax and legal procedures in the Philippines. First, the Book of Legal Aspect for Business by Mr. Mermelo B. Avante, PhD, DPA, LLD. This resource invaluable for understanding the legal framework businesses operate in. Next, the National Internal Revenue Code or the NIRC and the Bureau of Internal Revenue or BIR guidelines are essential for understanding tax compliance. These documents are the backbone of tax regulation and filing procedures. Additionally, the Local Government Code of the Philippines offers insight into local governance and fiscal policies, while the CREATE Act and related tax circular provides recent updates on tax incentives and policies. Then let's explore this important question together. First, what is the deadline for filing the annual income tax return? Regarding the deadline for the annual income tax return, it's crucial to remember that this is typically due on April 15th every year. Now, what if the state tax is unsettled? Let's address what happens if the state tax is unsettled. If you're in this situation, it's important to know that interest and penalties may accrue until the tax is paid. This emphasizes the importance of timely settlement. And the third one, how the capital gain tax, donor tax, and estate tax are the same. Finally, let's discuss the similarities between capital gain tax, donors tax, and estate tax. While these taxes are distinct, they are similar in that they all involve the transfer of wealth or assets. Each has its own rules and rates, but fundamentally, they are part of the broader framework of taxation and on asset transfer. Once again, thank you and have a pleasant afternoon.